The Kushners, on the other hand, are in a position of authority where they are going to be able to get away with a lot before all is said and done. Now, even though this is not Albania and a little private island that these disgusting twits are trying to take over, and it's not even Jared Kushner. No, it's not. It's actually his brother, his younger brother, Josh Kushner. Those of you who know me know that I am a sporty fan. This is one of the reasons I have to talk about this without Jen being here, unless it's the NFL and it's the Miami Dolphins. But this is the NBA. And anybody who knows the NBA knows that the Los Angeles Lakers are the most valuable franchise in the history of the league. And rightfully so. I am a Laker hater. I freely admit that. I hate everything the Lakers represent. But at the same time, I can respect that they are an historic franchise that has won as much as any, along with the Celtics. And so I don't take that away in regarding that. But there is no question that when it comes to NBA brass, power, things of that nature, all of that goes out the window because we have known for years about the commissioner of the NBA, former commissioner of the NBA, David Stern, who brought the league to prominence in the 1980s with Magic, Bird, and Michael. And as a result, the league became a global phenomenon. But David Stern also had a very, very close relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. There are endless amounts of emails in the Epstein files that detail their conversations, including Commissioner Stern referring to everyday people as the Goyim, that the Jews don't have to pay for anything. This is all documented. And it's not surprising. And there's always been suspicion over many, many years that the NBA is not above board. I can remember one specific instance, and we'll test the knowledge of any of our sports fans here in the chat that remember the 2002 Western Conference Finals between the Los Angeles Lakers and the Sacramento Kings. The sixth game in LA, I have always maintained, was as close to what you can actually call a rigging of a basketball game in real time at that level, at that much consequence that would have sent Sacramento to the NBA Finals. It completely changed the course of NBA history as a result. Years and years on down the road, you now realize that many things have trickled out about that particular game. The Lakers have always had a very, very favorable position when it comes to how things operate in the NBA. And in this case, it looks like the new ownership is going to be one of the Kushners, along with Bob Iger, who is the CEO of Disney. A record-setting $12 billion with a B is what they're paying for this team. But here's the more interesting caveat to this story. And isn't it amazing, ladies and gentlemen, how much Josh Kushner looks like a Jason Biggs knockoff? I can't get that out of my head. I'm seeing American Pie flashbacks. Billionaire Josh Kushner. How did he become a billionaire? That's the bigger question. How did Josh Kushner become a billionaire? You know, it's always interesting when you learn more about these families and you know what they've been able to get away with and how they get access to all of this money. But in the case of billionaire Josh Kushner, who just bought the Lakers for $12.5 billion, OpenAI's Sam Altman once said he doesn't care what others think. Here's a reason. You can scroll a little bit, please. Jared Kushner has just announced he is teaming up with former Disney CEO Bob Iger to buy the Los Angeles Lakers for a record $12.5 billion. The new sale still needs approval from the NBA's Board of Governors, but it would mark the largest sale price for a professional sports team in U.S. history. That's any sports franchise, by the way, more than anything the NFL has ever paid. And just the latest in Kushner's string of very lucrative investments. Josh Kushner is the younger son of real estate tycoon and federal criminal Charles Kushner, who was pardoned by the Donald in 2020, and is now the U.S. ambassador to France. His older brother, Jared Kushner, is the son-in-law and former advisor to President Trump, and his wife is the supermodel Carly Kloss. Man, talk about not losing at life. But Kushner made a name for himself at just 26 years old when he founded Thrive Capital in 2011. Since then, his firm has backed some of the most notable startups of the past decade, including Instagram, Spotify, and OpenAI. And therein lies the rub in many ways. A 26-year-old with all of those connections starts a venture capital firm, Thrive Capital, and probably knew that he was going to be earmarked for tens, if not hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars right out of the box. This is what happens when you're born on third base and think you hit a triple. And this is also the problem with the compounding of value that one is able to accumulate because they just happen to know the right people. And the system is obviously rigged because Sam Altman's business isn't worth jack shit as far as I'm concerned. But for whatever reason, he's able to maintain his growth pattern within his industry. Not because of anything that's tangible that you could point to and say, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It's because the system's rigged and they're the ones rigging it. As ChatGPT and with it, its parent company OpenAI has gone on to become one of the most valuable AI ventures in the world, Kushner and Thrive's profiles have soared. At the time, not many were willing to invest in the newcomer. And even OpenAI CEO Sam Altman himself told Kushner the company was anything but a sure bet. Yeah, I'm sure he told him that and that they can announce it. Yes, he is very much that. But Thrive has ultimately put in more than $2 billion into the ChatGPT maker since its inception. Most recently, it invested roughly $1 billion in OpenAI at a $285 billion valuation in December. At the November 24 Fortune Global Forum in NYC, Kushner revealed that he invested in the company for two key reasons. He believed in the person running the company, and he had a gut instinct the company would stand the test of time. Let me assure you, he doesn't have any gut instincts. He doesn't have any theories. He has what we call sure things. He's told what to do, he does it, and he wins. Heads I win, tails you lose. That's how he operates. You don't have to like it. But this is how Fortune, this is how the Wall Street Journal, this is how Politico, this is how all of these publications operate. They protect the investment. I was listening to an investment podcast earlier today from my commercial real estate business, and I had to listen to a guy basically ignore a very important caveat when it came to a critical investment and how, just in general, why one part of an investment ultimately falls apart. He was talking about Sears, and he was addressing the fact that Sears is a company that has basically been, put out to pasture. But why has Sears failed? Sears failed because it got bought out by a private equity giant, and the guy sold it off for parts. He didn't give a fuck. But he wasn't going to mention that part of the story. And that's the other part of the story when it comes to how these criminals, like father, like son, how is it that the Kushners are able to get away with this? Because they are criminals and they're rigging the system. How is it that Jared Kushner is in a position with Steve Witkoff to decide how Gaza is going to be redone? You don't hate these people enough. That's part of the problem. And so, since day one as a firm, we have been very much oriented towards being extremely concentrated in people and ideas, he revealed, adding, It's the people steering the ship who often keep it afloat. In our world, there's an inferiority to technology. Those assets are fairly limited, but I think most importantly, it's so driven by the person who's running those businesses as well as investing in people. He also said he abides by the investment philosophies of Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett. If Charlie Munger was still alive, he would tell you to go fuck yourself. And Charlie Munger supported single-payer healthcare, by the way. I always appreciated that about him. But he probably could have done a lot more with his money to make it so. They say one thing, they don't do enough. I know, we want more, we deserve more, we should get more. I digress. We've always believed in the Munger-Buffett way of the world, power of compounding, one of the wonders of the world, and to hold these companies for a long period of time. We have been of the belief that there's a very small amount of companies that one should be a part of. You need to be their most meaningful partner. You need to be extremely long-term. Adding that in his eyes, OpenAI is like Fifth Avenue, a jewel you own for decades to come. OpenAI is a disaster. And the problem is Altman and Kushner are not going to suffer for it. We will suffer for it because it will be subsidized. It will be pushed onto the working class of this country to subsidize this. Remember, it's rugged individualism for everyone else and socialism for the rich. That's our system. To deny it, you need look no further than this. How else can somebody like Josh Kushner get to $12.5 billion with Bob Iger to buy the Los Angeles Lakers? Now you understand why. We have a deep respect for Google and Meta, but our belief in the OpenAI is going to be one of those. We feel very lucky to be partnered with them. Scroll, please. OpenAI CEO Sam Altman once said Josh Kushner makes high conviction bets and doesn't care what other investors think. Yeah, because again, the game is rigged. Kushner, now 41, first met Altman in 2011, but it wasn't until 22 at a closed-door event for tech CEOs in Arizona that the duo went on a walk together. Did they hold hands too? Altman has been making note of Kushner's investment in founders at splashy startups, including Slack, Instacart, and payment giant Stripe. Staying loyal and lavishing them with attention, even during rocky stretches. Again, because he has an open ATM machine. It's not his fucking money. It's money that is provided to him by having a venture capital firm that all of the shady billionaire ruling class oligarchs of the world stuff into his coffers because they know the score. They don't have to have these meetings to decide what's good and what isn't. They understand. And in the case of the data centers, in the case of the AI, in case of Israel, they all know the score. We're going to get to Theo Vaughn in a minute discussing the data centers. He invested in a style that is close to what I do myself, Altman said. Josh makes high conviction bets, doesn't give a shit, blah, 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 blah. I feel a lot of camaraderie with that. Yes, I'm sure you do. A few months later, in early 23, Thrive led a round in OpenAI, investing nearly $130 million at a $29 billion valuation. Just throw numbers at the wall and convince people that that's what it's worth. As I've pointed out before, this is what little Ben Shapiro is trying to do with the Daily Wire. He's trying to boost up the value of the organization and get some sucker to buy him out because the valuation is worth a lot more than the business can actually hold. Please move that. Meanwhile, Thrive was most recently valued at $12 billion, according to who? According to who? Making Kushner, who has a majority stake in his company, the richest in his famous family, with an estimated $5.2 billion net worth. Like I said, money doesn't mean anything anymore. Keep scrolling, please. And as for Iger and Kushner, their partnership didn't start with the Lakers. Iger started working with Thrive Cap. Oh, there it is. So Iger's been working with Thrive Capital in September of 22, and the venture capital firm already holds minority stakes in the San Francisco Giants and the Miami Heat. Mickey Harrison, who owns the Miami Heat, is a Zionist Jewish man as well. Before that, Kushner owned a piece of the Memphis Grizzlies. Meanwhile, Kushner and Iger had previously been tied to a possible NBA expansion team in Las Vegas. And let me tell you, they're going to get that team. Vegas is going to get a team. It doesn't make any sense. And if anybody's been to Vegas in recent times, as I have, you would understand that it really doesn't make sense. It just doesn't. But in the end, it's not really supposed to make sense. The more we notice, the faster the system breaks in half, which is exactly what needs to happen. Eventually, people have to stop trusting that this system can be salvaged. It can't.